Hello guys, this is Sachin and I welcome you to this Hack with Infeed problem session brought to you by Six Phrase MySlate. And in this problem session, we are going to see Hack with Infeed round 2 question which have been asked in the which has been asked in the 2020 problem set of Hack with Infeed. The name of the problem is special primes. Okay, so now we will just see the problem statement and then we will plan a strategy to find a solution, to derive a solution for the problem called as special primes. For example, the problem statement is actually a number called as n. Given an integer n, we have to output the number of pairs x and y, x comma y, such that both the numbers x and y should be between the range of 0 comma n. It should not exceed the given n actually. It should not exceed the given n. And after choosing two numbers called x comma y, we should be finding f of x and f of y, and we need to add f of x and f of y to get. So whenever we add f of x and f of y, we should be getting a prime number. If we get a prime number, then this x comma y is one pair which we want to output. What is f of x? What is f of y? F of x is the sum of digits of x. So what is f of y? F of y is the sum of digits of y. So what is the one important point is x comma y and y comma x are treated to be as a same pair. So before starting the problem set, first of all, I'll just make it very clear about the problem statement initially. What is the problem statement explaining? The problem statement, what it is explaining is an integer called n will be provided. An integer called n will be provided. You have to choose two numbers called as x and y, and these two numbers which you are going to choose should be in the range of 0 to n. And after choosing two numbers, the two numbers that you are going to choose can be same number also. After choosing the two numbers, you have to find the sum of digits of the number 1 and for sum of digits of number 2. That is what f of x and f of y. After finding the sum of digits and after finding the sum of digits of x and y, add the resultant answer. If the resultant answer is a prime number, then x comma y is one kind of pair that we are expecting. So we have to make this, we have to count the number of pairs. First of all, we have to count the number of pairs for which these conditions are satisfying. So we will just first of all take an example. We'll take an example. For example, I'm going to take n is equal to 20. N is equal to 20. Okay. First of all, what are all the prime numbers between inside 20? First of all, we have to find what are all the prime numbers inside 20. Okay. 2 is a prime number inside 20. 3 is a prime number inside 20. 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, 19. These are all prime numbers inside 20 actually. Okay, so addition of f of x and f of y can be any of these numbers because they are expecting a prime number. Okay, so we can maximum get any one of these numbers actually. Okay, fine. Now what we are going to do is, if n is equal to 20, what are all the pairs of x and y we can choose? If you take x, x can be chosen. We can choose x with the values called as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 and 20. Because we have already clearly said that x can be chosen between 0 to n, anything can be chosen. So including 0 also. Fine. Coming to y also we can choose the same numbers. Y also we can choose the same numbers. Yes. Now what they're asking is we need to choose a pair called x comma y. So what pair we can choose? 0 comma 0, 0 comma 1, 0 comma 2, 0 comma 3, 0 comma 4, 0 comma 5, 0, 6, 0, 7, 0, 8, 0, 9, 0, 10, 0, 11, 0, 12, 0, 13, 0, 14, 0, 15, keeps on going. Then again, start your x with 1. You are starting your x with 0 and you are selecting y from 0 to 20. Totally 20 pairs will be there. Then again, start your choosing value from 1. Then start your y value from 0. Again, you will be getting a 20 pair. Then start your x value from 2 and start your y value from 0. You will be again getting a pair, 20 pairs. So how many pairs totally will be having? 20 multiplied by 20. So you can say that totally we'll be having n multiplied by n pairs will be there. Okay. What is the first step that we are going to do? First of all, we are going to find the sum of digits of x and we are going to find the sum of digits of y separately. So when it is a single digit, then no issue because already it is a single digit. So no sum will be taking place. So sum of 1 is 1. Sum of 2 is 2. Sum of digits of 3 is 3. So up to 9 it is fine. So coming to sum of digits of 10, digits is 1 and 0 separately are digits. 1 is a separate digit and 0 is a separate digit. So adding both the digits together, it becomes 1. So sum of digit of 10 is 1. Sum of digit of 11 is 1 plus 1, 2. Sum of digit of 12 is 1 plus 2, 3. Then sum of digits of 13 is 4. Sum of digits of 14 is 5. Then comes 15, which is 6. 16 is 7. 17 is 8. 18 is 9. 19 is 10. 20 is 2. And this keeps on going. So the same sum of digit only we will be getting for x also. The same digit only we will be getting for y also. Now after finding the sum of digit, which is f of x, now we have only f of x. This is not x, this is f of x now. Because we have found sum of digits, so automatically this becomes f of x after finding sum of digit. This is not y, this is f of y. F of y. Now what you have to do? We have to find how many such pairs are there. How many such y comma x pair or x comma y pairs are there, whereas the sum of x plus y is equal to prime number. For example, 0 plus 0 is not a prime number. 0 plus 1 is not a prime number. 0 plus 2 is a prime number. 0 plus 2 is a prime number. So we just can start selecting. 0 comma 2 is a prime number because 2 is a prime number. We know already we have a list of prime numbers. So 2 is a prime number. So 0 comma 2 is one such pair. 0 comma 2 is one such pair, which is a sum of these two numbers is going to be a prime number, equal to a prime number. Okay. Next digit, next one, 0 comma 3 is also a prime number because 0 plus 3 equal to 3. 3 is a prime number. Similarly, 0 comma 5 is a prime number. 0 comma 5 is a prime number. Then comes 0 comma 7 is again a prime number. Okay. Then again 0 comma 2. Again you are getting one more 2 is here. So again you are having one more 2. So 0 comma 2 is again. So again you have one more 3 here. So 0 comma 3 again will be there. And again you have one more 5. So 0 comma 5. Then again you have 1 7. So 0 comma 7. So again we are not having anything. So 0 plus 10 is not a prime number. Again you are having one more 2, which means again 0 comma 2. Okay. You can ask me 0 comma 2 and 0 comma 2 3 times occurring. All the three are same pair. See, x comma y is different. What is the original x comma y actually? Okay, so I'll just write x and we will write also y. Original x is equal to 0 comma 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18 19 20. This is the original x value. Okay, similarly, the original y value is this one. So according to original x comma, see y value is this one. Okay, y value. So 0 comma 0. Okay, fine. See 0 comma 2 is one pair. So 0 comma one more 2 is there. What is this 2? 11. Summation of the sum of digits of 11 only we have taken as 2. So 0 comma 2 is one pair. 0 comma 11 is one pair. and 0 comma 20 is the next pair. So all the three pairs are different actually. Their sum of digits are only same. Sum of digits are same, but the original number is actually different. So don't worry about it. Okay, don't worry. We'll not be getting any repeated pairs again. Okay, so how many pairs are there here? Only for choosing x is equal to 0, only for choosing x is equal to 0, we have totally 3 plus 3, 6, 6 plus 3, we have 9 pairs now. Similarly, if we start choosing from 1, we'll be having a different set of, because 1 plus 1 is 2, again it is a prime number, 1 plus 2, then it is 1 plus 4, then 1 plus 6, then similarly this keeps on going. So hope everybody understood the question. We have to find how many such pairs are existing for a given input called as n. Okay, so we are given with the integer called n. If an integer called n is provided, then we have to choose two numbers called as x and y. Whereas these two numbers should always lie between 0 and n, which is if 20 is provided as n, then the two numbers we are going to choose x comma y have to be in the range of 0 comma 20. And after taking the list of x and y, we have to find the sum of digits of x of all the numbers of x. So I have one more list called f of x. Similarly, we take one more array called y, whereas we are taking all the possibilities of selection, because we can select any number from 0 to n. So we have taken all the possibilities from 0 to n. Then also we have to find sum of digits of y, which is f of y. Then we have to start adding f of x and f of y, and we have to find how many such pairs are available. Okay, so I have just explained you the problem statement. We have not still, this is not the idea of implementation. We are not going to implement the same methodology. For the understanding of problem statement only, I am just confessing this for you. Okay, hope everybody understood the problem statement actually. Okay, so now I'm going to introduce you to the methodology that we are going to follow in order to find this. Okay, for example, let me consider that the maximum input that can be given is 10 power 50. The maximum input n can be given as 10 power 50. If 10 power 50 is provided, what can be the maximum sum of digit is my question. What can be my maximum sum of digit? If 10 power 50 is a number, then 10 power 50 means 10 zeros will be there. 10 power 50 means 50 zeros will be there. 50 zeros. What is the greatest number inside 10 power 50? It is 59s. 59s coming after each other. So 59s will be there. That is the largest number inside 10 power 50. You can just analyze that. If 59s are placed, 59 digits are placed, then it is the largest number inside 10 power 50. Okay, there are totally 59s are there. If totally 59s are there, then how many, what is the sum of digit? 50 multiplied by 9. If totally 59 digits are there, then 50 multiplied by 9 is equal to 450. So 450 is the maximum sum of digit that we can have. 450 is the maximum sum of digit that we can have. So we are not going to take any we are not going to take all the numbers between 0 and 10 power 50. We are going to reduce the number we are going to take. Okay, I'll just make it clear what is the idea behind this. If the maximum sum of digit is 450, what we will be doing is that we'll be taking all the numbers from 1 to 450. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and goes on up to 450. Up to 450 we have taken. Now what we are going to find is that we are going to find how many digits, how many numbers between 0 and 10 power 50. Carefully listen. How many numbers between 0 and 10 power 50 having sum of digit 1? How many numbers between 0 and 10 power 50 is having sum of digit equal to 1? So we'll be finding that count for 1. We'll be also finding how many numbers between 0 and 10 power 50 is having sum equal to 2. For example, let me consider that there are totally 20 numbers between 0 and 10 power 50, which is having some one. Just a simple example I'm taking, not the exact value, just a example. For example, between 0 and 1050, there are 10 power 50, there are totally 15 numbers which are having sum of digits 2. Similarly, for each and every number, we will be finding a count of the numbers for which the sum of digit is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, up to 450. Okay, now I will just tell you one thing. We all know that definitely 2 and 3, if it is added together, it will be giving us 5, which is a prime number. 2 plus 3 will give us 5, which is a prime number. So how many numbers are there with sum of digit 2? 15 numbers. Okay, fine. Then how many numbers are there? How many numbers are there between 0 and n having sum of digit 3? 20 numbers. So exactly you are having 50 numbers which makes sum 2 and 20 numbers which makes sum 3. And totally how many pairs will be there between this 2 and 3? 15 multiplied by 20. Totally you will be having 300 number pairs. 300 pairs whose sum will be equal to 5. Okay, see, there exist 15 for example, I will just give you an example. For example, 1, okay, 11, 20, and for example, okay, 11, so 12, then 21, 30. These are the three numbers. Let us consider that these are the three numbers along with 3. Okay, these are the 4 numbers inside 30. So let us consider that n is equal to 30. N is equal to 30. And if n is equal to 30, let us consider that how many numbers we are going to find. How many numbers between 0 and 30 is having sum of digits equal to 3. So the numbers are 3, 12, 21, 30. 3, 12, 21, 30 are the only 4 numbers, whereas the sum of digit is equal to 3. Okay. Similarly, we are also going to find the numbers which are going to have 2, sum of digit equal to 2. So the first number is 2, second number is 11, the next number is 20. Only these three numbers are having sum of digit equal to 2. Okay, fine. Now tell me how many pairs will be there totally between these two things. The pairs will be 3 comma 2, then the next pair is going to be 3 comma 11, the next pair is going to be 3 comma 20, and the next pair is 12 comma 2, and the next pair is 12 comma 11, and the next pair is 12 comma 20, and the next pair we have is 21 comma 2, and the next pair we have is 21 comma 11. Then it goes on, for example 21 comma 20, and then it is 30 comma 2, then it is 30 comma 11, 30 comma 11, and it is the next one is 30 comma 20. The next one is 30 comma 20. So these are the all the pairs between this. How many pairs are there? 1 2 3 4 5, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12. Totally 12 pairs are there. How 12 pairs? Totally 4 numbers are there for 3 and 3 numbers are there for sum of digit equal to 2. So 4 multiplied by 3 equal to 12. That is the reason for 12 such pairs. So first of all, we have to find the numbers, count of numbers which makes count of digit equal to a certain number like 2, 3, 4. Then if you know that 2 plus 3 is definitely going to be a prime number, then multiply the count of number that leads to sum of digit equal to 2, and also take the count of numbers which leads to sum of digit equal to 3 and multiply these two numbers. So 15 multiplied by 20 equal to 300. So there will be totally 300 such pairs between this 2 and 3. Okay, so what we are going to take initially, first of all, we are going to list from 1 to 450. Okay, 1 to 450 we are going to list out first of all, and we are going to find exactly the number of see, n value can be different, right? N value is different. If n value is 10 power 50, then the maximum sum of digit can be 450. Okay, no issues. So for any test case, maximum it is going to be 450, right? So let us take from 1 to 450. Let us take a array of size 450. Let us take a array of size 450, 451, because from 0 to 450. So from 0 to 450 means totally there will be 451 numbers. So we can take a array of size 451, and in each and every index we are going to count the count of numbers which is having count of sum of digit equal to respective number, like 1 2 3. Okay, so whatever the n value, we are going to find the count of numbers which leads to sum of digit equal to 1 2 3 4 5. Separately we will be finding the count. After finding the array, we have to find the pair which is going to make prime numbers. Okay, that we will see later. First of all, we will implement this. One. Okay, fine. So how we are going to implement this one is, first of all, the very first method is we have to take an array of size 451. Okay, that's a very first step. So what we will do is, I will take a array. I'll take an array of size 451 initially. Okay, and initially, see, 451 will be having initially all the index elements are going to be, I'm going to initialize all the array indexes to 0 value, are going to, all the values I'm going to initialize into 0. And then now what we will do is, we are going to start finding the count of numbers which leads to sum of digit equal to 1. First of all, I'll come to that. Okay, I will come to that. See, I'll just give you one better example. First of all, for example, let us consider that we are starting the process from 0. Okay, we are going to start, let us take a variable called p and start the value, start the process from 0. Okay, now what we are going to do, we are going to start increment your p value by 1 until you reaches the respective sum of digit you want to find. For example, let us consider that we are going to find all the numbers from 0 to 100. We are going to find all the numbers from 0 to 100. Let us just have an example. We are going to have between 0 to 100. We are going to find all the numbers for which the sum of digit is going to be 4. Okay, so initially we started by p value equal to 0. Then we will be incrementing our p, because 0 is not, sum of digit of 0 is not equal to 4. So I am incrementing my p value to 1. Sum of digits of 1 is not equal to 4. So this is not the number that we wanted. So I'm incrementing my p value to 2. This is also count of digit is not equal to 4. Then p is equal to 3. Here also the count of the sum of digit is not equal to 4. Then p is equal to 4. Yes, now the sum of digit is equal to 4. So when our sum of digit is equal to 4, whenever our sum of digit is equal to 4, then we can stop here and we can take the count equal to 1. So far we have found one number with the sum of digit equal to 4. Okay, fine. Now what we have to do? Again, will I have to increment by 1? No, don't increment your value by 1. Whenever you are finding a value whose sum of digit is equal to 4 or whatever we wanted, then what we have to do is we have to stop here, and hereafter we can start incrementing our p value by 9. Okay, because if you start incrementing your p value by 9, definitely the resultant answer also sum of digit will be equal to 4 only. For example, p is equal to 4 plus 9, 13. What is the sum of digit of 13? Sum of digit of 13 is 4. Sum of digit of 13 is 4. So this is the second number which is, so there is no need of checking 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12. Useless of it is useless checking those numbers. So we are making it little efficient by ignoring all the numbers from 5 to 12 actually. So this is 13 is the second number whose sum of digit is equal to 4. Okay, fine. Will I have to increment by 1? No. Increment your p value by 9. Okay, so 13 plus 9 will be equal to 22, and for 22 also the sum of digit is actually 4. Yes, so this is the third number. This is the third number where the sum of digit is equal to 4. Okay, will I have to increment by 1? No, increment by 9. So P is equal to 22 plus 9 equal to 31. What is the sum of digit of 31? Again 4. So this is the fourth number we are getting. This is the fourth number where the sum of digit is equal to 4. Will I have to increment it by 9? Will I have to increment it by 1? No. Increment it by 9 still. So 31 plus 9 equal to 40. 31 plus 9 equal to 40. What is the sum of digits of 40? It is 4. So count is equal to 4. Count is equal to 4. Okay. Now, will I have to increment my value by 9? Yes, again increment your value by 9. So P is equal to 49. What is the sum of digits of 49? It is equal to 13. It is not equal to 4. So when it is not equal to 4, stop the process. Stop the process. And stop the process, and what you do is hereafter start incrementing your P value by 1. Start incrementing your P value by 1. And what we will be doing is hereafter you will be incrementing your P value by 50, 51, 52, 53 until we find one more number for which sum of digit is equal to again 4. If again you find one more number where the sum of digit is equal to 4, you can stop there and you can start incrementing it by 9 again. So while you are incrementing it by 9, at some point of time your sum of digit is not equal to 4. There you can stop and you can start incrementing it by 1 again. So this is the methodology of finding how many numbers between the range. So this is 5, count equal. So how many numbers between a particular range, whereas the sum of digit is equal to a particular k value like 4, 3 or 2 or anything. So how many numbers are here totally? 5 numbers are there between 0 and 100. So if you keep on incrementing by 1 also up to 100, there will be no other numbers. There will be no other numbers where the sum of digit is equal to 4. Up to 100 I'm saying. Okay. How many numbers totally? 5 numbers are there. So this strategy we are going to, you can ask me whether only this strategy is there. Oh, there are many more other strategies are there. There are few more strategies are there. Even one more efficient strategy than this is there, like digit dynamic programming. Okay, but first of all we need to understand this methodology in order to get into digit dynamic programming, which is a very complex concept actually. First of all, you need to have a great knowledge of this implementation and this idea, and then using this idea you can just move to digit dynamic programming, which we will be also discussing in the series later, Hack with Infi series. Okay, fine. So how to implement this? First of all, what you now want to know is what is the sum of digit that we wanted. Here, for example, here we took 4. 1 plus 3, 4, 2 plus 2, 4, 3 plus. So we want to know what sum we need to achieve by adding the digits of a number. One thing. That's a one thing. And we need to know n value. N value means up to what? From 0 to 100 or 0 to 1000 or 0 to 20,000. That n value you should know. Okay, fine. So now what we are going to do is we are going to write a function. We are going to write a function which will be returning an integer value, either the count it is going to return. So the name of this function is going to be, what we can have is we can have count digits, for example, count digits, and this is going to accept what we told, what we wanted to know. What is the information required? The information that is required is n value and the sum value, n and the sum. So we'll be taking two arguments, n, and the other argument is sum. Okay, fine. Now what we wanted to do, we are going to take a variable called p. As we take there, we are going to start it by 0. We want to start it with 0, and now we are going to start a loop called while, and up to what we can keep on incrementing our p up to we reach the ending point n. So already we have the variable called n. For example, if 100 is the limit, If 30 is the limit, then you can go and check up to 30 only, 0 to 30. So you can run a loop, and before running a loop, you can check whether the p-value is less than or equal to n. If it is less than or equal to n, then it is fine. If not, you can stop the process. Okay. Inside this loop, what you are going to do? First of all, you are going to check whether the current number p is having sum of digit equal to sum or not. So first of all, to find the sum of digit, we are going to write a function called sum digits, and this is going to take only one number called n, for example, and this is going to find the number of digit. How to find the number of digit? For example, let me tell you one scenario. If the number that we have taken is 234, then what is going to be sum of digit? First of all, we have to split this 4, and then we have to split 3, then we have to split 2, and then we have to add all these digits. How to split this 4, 3, 2, everything separately? Yeah, we will see that. First of all, take 234, mod it with 10. When you mod it with 10, what is mod operator is for? For remainder. So when you divide 234 by 10, you will be getting quotient 23, and the remainder will be 4. That remainder 4 will be provided by the mod operator. So that remainder 4 is the last digit. So by doing this mod operation with 10, you will be getting the last digit called as 4. Okay, step 1 done. What is going to be step 2? Step 2 is we will be dividing this 234 by 10. What is a quotient? Quotient is equal to 23. So the new n value is 23. The new n value is 23. And now again what you do is, if you want this digit called 3, then again you have to mod this with 10. So you'll be getting 3 separately. What's the next step? The next step is the present n value 23 have to be divided by 10. And if it is divided by 10, the new value will be 2. When the new value is 2, how to get that digit? Again, you can mod it with the 10. So when you mod 2 with the 10, you will be again getting 2. Then what is the next step? Next step is present value of n is 2 divided by 10, you will be getting 0. So when your resultant answer, when the n value becomes 0, you can stop the process. You can see here you have got all the digits separately, and you can add these digits together. 4 plus 3 plus 2. So how we are going to do this? This is a value called n. This is a value called n. So what we can do is, we can have a variable called sum. We can have a variable called sum which is initialized to 0 initially. Then we can take the value called n, and then we can mod it with 10 to get a remainder. We can mod n with 10 to get the remainder. That remainder is what called as 4, which can be added to sum to find the sum of digit. So then after finding r is equal to n mod 10, what you have to do? You have to add r to sum. So sum equal to sum plus r. So r value is added to sum, and it is again stored back in sum. Okay. What is the next thing that you have to do? The next thing is n should be divided by 10. N should be divided by 10. Again, it should be stored back in n itself. So first process is mod a given number with 10 to get a remainder, which we are storing in the variable called r. Then add that remainder to the variable called sum. After adding it to the sum, then divide the current n value by 10 to get 23, the remaining values. So first of all, we are splitting the last digit, adding it with sum, and then we are removing the last digit by doing divided by 10 process. Okay, these 3 steps have to be repeated until your n becomes 0. So what we are going to do is, this command line I'm going to remove and convert it into integer sum. Okay, integer sum, and we are going to write a while loop where n not equal to 0. So when n not equal to 0, we can perform these 3 steps again and again. So I'll just take these lines again. I'll just I'll just paste it inside the while loop. We will just remove the comment line that we have. So similarly, I will do this here also. So R is not declared, I think so far. So we will be declaring R is the R first of all. We'll be declaring R. And here n mod 10 semicolon, sum plus R semicolon, here also. Right. Now whatever the final value of sum is the sum of digit which we need to return. So sum we are returning back. So using this sum digit function, we are finding the sum of digit using this technique. And after finding the sum of digit which we are returning back to the place where we are calling, now let us enter into this count digits. When p is less than or equal to n, we should check whether the sum of digit of p is equal to sum. So here sum digits of p, if it is equal to sum, if it is equal to sum, then what we can do is we can have a variable called count and we can increment the value of count. This count variable will be having how many such numbers exist with the given sum of digits. Okay, we will be incrementing the count value, and also at the same time we will be incrementing your p value by 9, not by 1, because you have got a number wherein the sum of digit of the number is equal to sum. That is what already I have explained you. Whenever you reach a number wherein the sum of digit is equal to the expected sum, then you start incrementing the p value by 9 until you find a number wherein the sum of digit is not equal to the given number. You can stop here and you can start incrementing by 1. So if the sum of digit of p is equal to sum, then increment the count value and also increment your p value by 9. Else, if this is not true, if the sum of digits of p is not equal to sum, then you can increment your p value by 1 every time. It's like p plus plus counting. Okay, so now finally what you need to do is, finally you should be returning your count value, whereas this count will tell you the this count will tell you how many such number exists, how many numbers with the given sum of digit exist. Okay, fine. Now let us come to main function. Now we have taken an array of 451 and let us write a for loop. Let me write a for loop. So I will also declare a variable called I for loop. So for I is equal to 0, I less than or equal to 450, exactly 450, I plus plus. What we are writing for what purpose we are writing this loop? We have to find how many numbers are there with some 0, how many numbers are there with some 1, with some 2, some 3, some 4, some up to 450. So this count digit have to be repeated for some 0, some 1, some 2, up to some 450. So when the same process have to be repeated for some number of time, then we can go for loop. Instead of writing the function call for 450 times, we can use loop. So what we are going to do is we are going to call this count digit function and we are going to pass two values called n. What is the n value? Okay, we will first of all declare a value called integer called n. Okay, so using scanf we will receive this n value from user. So scanf %d comma ampersand n. Okay, fine. Now what we need to pass here is we should be passing the n value, which is capital uppercase n, and also we should be finding passing the sum value which we wanted. That is what I, because first time I want to find what is how many numbers where the sum is 0. Next, how many numbers are with sum 1. Next, how many numbers are with sum 2, 3, 4. Again and again I have to repeatedly find, and I have to be storing it in the array called as a. So a of I will be storing it. So in the 0th index, I will be storing that how many numbers are there with the sum 0. In 1th index, I will be storing how many numbers are there with sum 1. In index 20, I will be storing how many numbers are there with the sum 20. So all these details are stored here in the A array A. So now, whatever we wanted, step 1 we have completed. First of all, this array is created. The array wherein how many numbers are there with sum of digit 2, how many numbers are there with sum of digit 3. All these details are, first of all, from 0 to 450, all these details are calculated here in the array called as A. Now what to do with this array? You have to find pairs. You have to find all such pairs which is going to be adding the pairs, which is going to give you a prime number. So what you have to do is you have to also write a function which is going to check whether a given number is a prime number or not. Is a prime number or not. Okay. So before starting to implement it, first of all, I will tell you how to find a number is a prime number or not. Okay. First of all, coming to prime number, what you define a prime number is? A prime number is a number which is divisible by 1 and itself. So first of all, for example, if you are taking a number called as n, if you are taking a number called as n, if you are taking a number called as n, then that number called as n have to be divisible only by 1 and n itself. All the numbers from 2 to n minus 1 should not be dividing the number. So the numbers from 2 to n minus 1 should not be dividing a number. If it is not dividing any of the numbers between 2 to n minus 1, if it is not dividing the given number called as n, then a particular number n can be called as a prime number, which means that it should have only two factors, which is 1 and the whole number itself. Okay. So what we have to do? We have to take all the numbers from 2 to n minus 1. So for example, I will tell you, if you want to prove, we know that 100 is not a prime number, but let me to show, we are taking n is equal to 100. If I want to prove that 100 is prime or not prime, as per the definition of prime number, I should start the process from 2 to n minus 1. What is 2 to 99? How many numbers are there? How many numbers are there from 2 to 99? There are totally 98 such numbers are there. So you have to take all this number from 2 to 99 and you have to check whether any of the numbers between 2 to 99 is dividing the n equally or not. If any number between 2 to 99 is dividing n equally, then it is a factor. Then n cannot be a prime number. Suppose if none of the numbers from 2 to 99, none of the numbers from 2 to 99 is dividing n equally, then definitely n is a prime number. Okay, this is a simple methodology with the help of the definition. Now, do I want to take 98 numbers and compare? No need of taking 98 numbers, because we know very well that if a number called n is taken, then all the factors of n will lie inside n divided by 2. All the factors of n will lie inside n divided by 2. For example, you have taken n equal to 100. So the factor will be up to 50. More after 50, we will be having no factors of 100. Because when you divide 100 equally into 2, you can have a part of 50, the other part of 50. So the maximum factor that I can have is n divided by 2. More than after n divided by 2, there will be no factor. So there is no need of checking the numbers after n divided by 2. So what you can say is, you can start the process from 2 and you can stop your process at 50. No need of checking all the remaining numbers. From 51 to 99, no need of checking all those numbers, because definitely mathematically we know very well that a number which is greater than n divided by 2 cannot be a factor of a number called as n. A number which is greater than n divided by 2 cannot be a factor of n. So we are not taking any numbers greater than n by 2. So now how many numbers are here in 2 to 50? 49 numbers. So we have reduced the number of we have reduced the amount of number from 98 to 49. Is it further can be reduced? Yes, it can be further optimized. How? For example, I will show you. You can check only from 2 to square root of n. If you check, it is enough. Square root of n. What is n here? 100. Square root of 100. What is square root of 100? 10. So square root of 100 is 10. So it is enough to check between 2 to 10 is what I am claiming, and I will also tell you reason why this is so. For example, take a number called 2. Is 2 a factor of 100? Yes, 2 is a factor of 100. So what will you get? What is the quotient that you get when you divide 100 by 2? I get 50. I get 50. So, checking 2 and checking 50 are both same, because when n is divisible by 2, definitely it will also be divisible by 50. If it is not divisible by 2, then it will not be divisible by 50. So checking 2 and 50, when you are checking 2, indirectly you are also checking 50. Similarly, next multiple of 3 is not a multiple, 4 is a multiple of 100. So when you divide 100 by 4, we get quotient equal to 25, which means checking 4, indirectly you are also checking 25. So when you divide a number by number 100 by 4, you are getting quotient 25, which means when you divide 100 by 25, you will be getting quotient 4, vice versa. So dividing it by 4 and checking also same process. Dividing it by 25 and checking is also same process. If you are dividing it by 4 and if it is not working, don't go and check 25, because it will also not be working. Okay. What's the next multiple of factor of 100? 5. So what is 100 divided by 5? 20. So checking 5 and checking 20 is same. What is the next factor? 10. So dividing 100 by 10, again you get 10, which is square root of 100 is 10. Okay. So when you check 2, 4, 5, 10, it is similar to checking 20, 25, 50. This 20, 25, 50 are the right side part. So if you see here, 2 to 10, and after 10, what are all the multiples of 100? 20, 25, 50. All these three numbers are indirectly checked using 2, 3, 2, 4, 5. So if you check all the numbers from 2 to square root of 10, then it will indirectly check all the numbers from square root of n plus 1 to n by 2. So from 11 to 50, all the numbers are indirectly checked. By checking all the numbers between 2 to 10, you are indirectly checking all the other numbers after square root of n up to n divided by 2. Okay, so what you can do is you can take 2 to square root of n and you can check whether the given number called n is divided by any of this number successfully. If any of these numbers between 2 to square root of n is dividing a given number called n successfully, then it is not a prime number. If none of the number between 2 to square root of n is dividing, none of the numbers is dividing the given number n, then it is a prime number. You can ask me, is there any other optimization, further optimization? Yes, definitely one more optimization is also possible. One more optimization is also possible. To understand that level of optimization, we need to look into an algorithm called as sieve of Eratosthenes. Okay, the algorithm name is sieve of Eratosthenes. What is this algorithm for? This algorithm is for generating all the prime numbers from 2 to a given n. This algorithm is to find all the prime numbers between 2 to a given number. So if we know this algorithm, from this algorithm we can take one idea, and using that idea we can optimize this, checking whether a given number is a prime or not. So before that, first of all, we should understand what is this algorithm called a sieve of Eratosthenes. For example, if n is equal to 30, we have to generate all the prime numbers less than 30. That is what the work of sieve of Eratosthenes. I'll just be explaining you the methodology of it. First of all, if you want to find all the prime numbers less than 30, start taking all the numbers from 2 to 30 first of all. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So we have taken all the numbers from right from 2 to n. Now what we have to do? There are two processes involved. One is selection. The other one process is called as elimination process. First of all, you have to select the very first number called 2, And when you select the number called 2, then all the multiples of 2 have to be eliminated. For example, 4 eliminated. Okay, so for example, 4 is have become 0. 4 is eliminated. Eliminated means I'm changing it to 0. 6 is a multiple of 2, eliminated. 8 is a multiple of 2, eliminated. 10 is a multiple of 2, eliminated. Similarly, 12 is eliminated, 14 eliminated, 16 eliminated, 18 eliminated, 20 eliminated, 22 is also eliminated, 24 is also multiple of 2 eliminated, 26 eliminated, 28 eliminated, and 30 is also eliminated because these are all multiples of 2. Then after eliminating all the numbers which is a multiple of the selected number, very first selected number is 2, then we have to go for the next selection after doing the elimination process. What is the next selection? Next selection is the next immediate number after the current selection which is not eliminated. So 3 is the next immediate number which is not eliminated. So select 3. If 3 is selected, then all the multiples of 3 have to be eliminated. So 9 is a multiple of 3 eliminated. 15 is a multiple of 3 eliminated. 21 is a multiple of 3 eliminated. 27 is a multiple of 3 eliminated. Okay, that's it. Now, what is my next selection? Already 2 and 3 have been selected. Now, the next selection cannot be 4 because it is already deleted. So, the next selection we are going to do is 5. So, if I select 5, then only number which is 25 is a multiple of 5. So, I will be eliminating 25. Okay, so fine. What will be my next selection? The next selection have to be 7, but I am not going to select 7 because 7 is greater than square root of 30, square root of n. Because already here in the checking number, I have told you the reason why we are coming up to only square root. So select up to square root of n alone. So select the numbers from 2 to square root of n and eliminate all their multiples. Eliminate all their multiples. Now, what are all the non-eliminated elements? They are all prime numbers. 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, 19, 23, 29. These are all prime numbers. Okay. What idea we are taking from this algorithm? What idea? I'm not explaining you this. Explaining you this algorithm is not the primary goal. We are going to take one idea from this algorithm. What is that idea? If you see, from 2 to 5 we are selecting, from 2 to square root of n we were selecting, but not all the numbers we are selecting. 4 is not selected. Why 4 is not selected? Because it is already a eliminated number. So from 2 to 5, if you see 2 to square root of n, what are all the numbers that are selected? Not all the numbers are selected. Only few numbers like 2, 3, 5 is selected. What is 2, 3, 5? Selected number will be always a prime number. If you observe, you can find it. The selected number will be always a non-eliminated number. If it is a non-eliminated number, then it is a prime number. So definitely the selected numbers are all prime numbers. So what I'm trying to say is that you no need to find, no need to check all the numbers from 2 to 10, 2 to square root of n. Check only the number, only the prime numbers between 2 to square root of n. So between 2 to square root of n, we are selecting only the prime numbers. So select only the prime numbers from 2 to square root of n and check whether n is see whether the number is dividing n equally or not. Okay, so what are all the prime numbers between 2 to 10? The prime numbers between 2 to 10 are 2, 3, 5, 7. Only 4 numbers. Initially, we started with 98 numbers. Then we reduced it to 49. Then we reduced it to 9 actually. From 2 to 10, it is totally 9 numbers. And after that, now we are reducing it to only 4. Okay. How to find the prime numbers between 2 to 10? You have to be using this algorithm called sieve of Eratosthenes. But this algorithm is efficient for generating all the prime numbers from 2 to n individually. But if you try to use this algorithm inside checking whether a number is a prime or not, then this algorithm checking whether a given number is a prime or not will become inefficient. Because of that, I'm going to introduce you to one more method, which is I'm going to introduce you to the equation called as I'm going to introduce you to the equation 6i plus or minus 1. Okay, 1 minute. Okay, yes, the equation is 6i plus or minus 1. So 6 multiplied by I plus or minus 1. Okay, let us start by taking your I value is equal to 1. I should start from 1, not from 0. So if I is starting from 1, then what is this going to be? 6 multiplied by 1 plus 1. First of all, we'll take minus 1. Minus 1 is equal to 6 minus 1 equal to 5. Then 6 multiplied by 1 plus 1, which is equal to 7. I think 5 and 7 both are prime numbers. Okay. Then 6 multiplied by I value, I'm going to increase it to 2. So 6 multiplied by 2 minus 2 equal to 12 minus 2. 12 minus, sorry, it is not minus 2, it is minus 1. So 12 minus 1 is equal to 11. Then 6 multiplied by 2 plus 1 is equal to 13. I think both these numbers are also prime numbers. 5, 7, 11, 13 are all prime numbers. Then 6 multiplied by 3 plus 1, sorry, minus 1 initially we will be taking, which is equal to 18 minus 1, 17. Then 6 multiplied by 3 plus 1 is equal to 18 plus 1, 19. Okay, then we will change our I value to 4. So 6 multiplied by 4 minus 1 is equal to 23. 6 multiplied by 4 plus 1 is equal to 25. So far we were getting only prime numbers. 25 is the first number which is a non-prime. So what I am trying to conclude here is that all the prime numbers can be expressed in the form of 6 multiplied by I plus or minus 1. All the prime numbers can be expressed in the form of 6 multiplied by I plus or minus 1. But all the numbers which are expressed in the form of 6 multiplied by I plus or minus 1 cannot be a prime number. What I'm trying to do is that all the numbers, we are going to take all the numbers which are in the form of 6 multiplied by I plus or minus 1. You might get a few non-prime numbers, only few non-prime numbers, but all the remaining numbers will be always prime numbers. So by using this method, this is the equation, mathematical equation. So by using this technique, we are going to reduce the time complexity further. Okay, fine. So using this technique, we will just first of all implement a separate function for finding whether, for checking whether a given number is a prime or not. So int is prime of int n. What is n? We are going to verify whether the n parameter n is going to be a prime number or not. So why we are keeping a return type as integer? Because we are going to return either 1 or 0. If 1 means prime number, 0 means not a prime number. Okay, fine. And one more thing, if you observe from this equation that I have given you, 6 multiplied by I plus or minus 1, it is starting from 5, which means 2 and 3 is missing. So 2 and 3 cannot be got through this equation. So 2 and 3 is the exceptional case. So 2 and 3 you have to separately check. This is not included. 2 and 3 is not included in the formula. So 2 and 3 have to be checked separately. Okay. So first of all, what we need to do is that if our n value is less than 2, it is definitely not a prime number. So if it is less than 2, we will be returning 0 directly. So return 0 means directly I will stop here. I will finish the function by telling that it is not a prime number. Not a prime number means represented by 0. Else, if the number is n is greater than or equal to 2, if it is greater than or equal to 2, and what we will be checking is if n is equal to 2, or otherwise n is equal to 3. if it is between either, if n is equal to 2 or n is equal to 3, definitely it is a prime number. So we should be returning 1. Else, returning 1 means 1 means represents prime number. Okay, else if both these conditions are not true, then only we will be using the formula for checking it. Okay, what is the formula? We will be taking initially a variable called k or I. Okay, I. Initially I will be starting at I 1. The formula I, 6 into I plus or minus 1. That formula term I. So initially we will be starting it with 1. And we are going to take two more variables called as a and b, whereas a is equal to 6 multiplied by I minus 1 and b is equal to 6 multiplied by I plus 1. These are the two formula, 6 multiplied by plus or minus 1. Okay, now what we are going to do, we are going to run a while loop until when, see, we are going to check only the numbers which are in the form of 6 multiplied by I minus or plus 1 inside square root of n. Inside square root of n. How to find square root of n? We have a library called as math.h. So as include math.h, and there is a function called square root. So what I want to tell you is that if, which is a lesser number here, a is a lesser number because it is minus 1. So if the lesser number is itself greater than square root of n, definitely the larger number also will be outside the condition. So it is enough to check only a because a is the smaller number. So if the smaller, for example, you have 5 and 7, 5 is smaller. If you are telling that 5 is greater than 4, definitely 7 also will be greater than 4. But if you say 7 is greater than 4, you have to again check 5 whether it is greater than 4 or less than 4. You cannot assure, you cannot guarantee. So since a equal to 6 multiplied by minus 1 is a smaller number, it is enough if you check the smaller number. If the smaller number is outside the limit, definitely the greater number also will be outside the limit. So while a is less than or equal to square root of n, we will be continuing this process. What we will be doing, we will be checking whether the number n is divisible by, see, not only n is equal to 2 or n is equal to 3. Okay, one more else if we should have done. What is that one more else if? One more else if is we should be separately checking whether the n is divisible by 2 or not, because we told already in the formula 2 and 3 are not there, exceptional cases. So we have to be separately checking whether the given number n is divisible by 2 or not. So n divisible by n mod 2 equal to 0 or n mod 3 equal to 0. If the given number is either divided by 2 or 3, then definitely it is not a prime number, so we will be returning 0. Else only we will be starting the process from 5. That's why we are starting our I value with 1. Okay, so now we will be checking whether n is divisible by a or it is divisible by b. So or n mod b equal to 0. If n is divisible by any one of this number, definitely it is not a prime. It is not a prime number. Not a prime number. And what every step, in each and every step, what we will be doing is we will be incrementing our I value, because we need to go for the next formula. I equal to 1. So 6 multiplied by 1 minus 1, 6 multiplied by 1 plus 1. So we have to change our I value to make it 2. Then only we can find the next formula. 6 into 2 minus 1, 11. And 6 into 2 plus 1, 13. So after incrementing the value of I, we should be, after incrementing the value of I, we should be also recalculating the formula A. So A is equal to 6 multiplied by I minus 1. Because changing the value of I will not automatically change A and B. You have to be again executing it to change it. So B is equal to 6 multiplied by I plus 1. So at some point of time, this while loop will end. So if while loop ends and if you are coming outside, definitely the number is not going to be, it is, see, it means that if condition is not even true for one time. If it is not even true for one time, then this return statement could have not been visited already. If return statement is already visited, then function automatically will could have been stopped. So if it is not visiting this return statement, then it will come out of this while loop. Then if it is coming out of while loop, definitely it is not a prime number. It is a prime number. So we will be returning 1. Because it is not at all divisible by any of the numbers. So we will be returning 1. Okay, fine. So we have written a method of just detecting how a number is a, how check a number is a prime number or not. Okay, I think this is a little bit new for you. Little bit complex also, mathematical concepts we are using. So again, if you watch the video again, you might understand it back. Okay, because if this is the first time if you are looking at this algorithm, then this is a very long algorithm. We have been seeing this for past 1 hour. So this is a very long algorithm. So you can just watch the same problem again once or twice to get a clear understanding. Okay, now let us come to the main function. Coming to main function, now what we have to do is we are going to run a nested loop to check how many pairs are, sum of pairs are going to give prime numbers. So we will just start I is equal to 0, I less than or equal to 450, I plus plus. Similarly, we will be taking for I j is equal to, so we will just declare a variable called j also. So j is equal to 0, then j is less than or equal to 450, then j plus plus. This is what I told, that how many pairs will be there, n square pairs. So 450 is the total digit, total number available, means 450 multiplied by 450, there will be totally that many number of pairs. So what we should be checking is that in a of I, what will be having? First of all, we have to check whether I plus j is equal to prime. If I plus j is equal to prime, then there will be totally a of I multiplied by a of j pairs will be there. So I and j we are referring to as, see, for example, if we have taken like this 1, 2, 3, 4, this is what I we are speaking about. I. What is 20? Value. So this is the count of numbers having sum of digit equal to 1. Okay, so we should be checking first of all whether I plus j is equal to prime or not. So if is prime of I plus j, if I plus j is a prime number, then what is the total number of pairs? So we will have a variable called as pair to have a count of it. So pair is equal to 0. So what we can do is that we can first of all find a of I multiplied by a of j. That many pairs will be there, and that pair we have to be adding it with the existing pair count. Existing count of pair is pairs in variable called as pair. So pair plus a of I multiplied by a of j, and the resultant answer have to be again stored back in the variable called as pair. That's it. If it is not a prime, no process have to be taking place. If it is not a prime, and no process you have to do. Okay. So this is one method I'm just explaining you. I'm not telling that this is an efficient method, but you first of all have to have a clear understanding of this method in order to understand the efficient method, which we will be covering in the later part of the series possible. Okay, fine. So now finally what we have to do is, finally we should be printing the final value of pair. So we will be printing percentage t, comma, we will be printing pair. Okay, first of all we will take a very small example and we will check whether it is working or not. We will check whether n is equal to, we will take n is equal to 10. If n is equal to 10, how many pairs are there? How many pairs are there? 0 comma 2 is one pair, 0 comma 3 is one pair, 0 comma 5, 0 comma 7. Okay, then 1 comma 1, 1 comma 3, no 1 comma 2 will give you 3. 3 is a prime number. Okay, then it is 1 comma 4, 1 comma 6, and 1 comma 10. Okay, 1 comma 10, which means no 1, yeah, 1 comma 10 means 10 will be having sum of digits 1, so 1 plus 1 2, 2 is also a prime number. Okay, then 2 comma 2 comma 1 cannot be taken again, because x comma y and y comma x is same. That is what the node they have taken. So 2 comma 3 is equal to 5, which is a prime number. 2 comma 4 cannot be taken. 2 comma 5 is equal to 7, which is a prime number. Then 2 comma 6 cannot be taken. 2 comma 7 is 9, no. 2 comma 10 cannot be taken. Okay, so 2 comma 10 means 10 sum of digit is 1, so 2 plus 1 will be equal to 3. Okay, definitely 2 comma 10 also will be taken, because we are going to add the sum of digit, right, not the numbers. Okay, fine. So then coming to 3 comma 4 is equal to 7, prime number. Then 3 comma 5 cannot be taken. 6, 7, 8, yeah, 6, 3 plus 8 is equal to 11 is a prime number. Then 3 plus 9 cannot be taken. Then 3 plus 10, okay, it cannot be taken. Coming to 4 comma 4 not taken. 4 comma 5, no. 4 comma 5, 4 comma 6, no. 4 comma 7 is 11. Okay, 4 comma 7 can be taken. And 4 comma 8, no. 4 comma 9 can be taken, which is equal to 13. Then 4 comma 10 can be taken, because sum of digit of 10 is 1, so 4 plus 1 is 5, which is a prime number. Okay, then coming to 5, so 5 comma 5 cannot be taken. 5 comma 6 can be taken, sum is 11, which is a prime number. Then 5 comma 7, no. 5 comma 8 is 13, yes, it is a prime number. Then 5 comma 9 cannot be taken. 5 comma 10, no. So that's it. So then coming to 6 comma 6 cannot be taken, but 6 comma 7 can be taken, which is equal to 13. So 6 comma 7 can be taken. 13 is a prime number. 6 comma 8 cannot be taken. 6 comma 9 cannot be taken. 6 comma 10 can be taken, because 6 comma 10 means 10, sum of digit of 10 is 1, so 6 plus 1 is 7, which is a prime number. Okay, then coming to 7 comma 8 cannot be taken. 7 comma 9 cannot be taken. 7 comma 10 cannot be taken, so no pairs. So taking 8 comma 8, 8 comma 9 cannot be taken. 8 comma 10 also cannot be taken. Coming to 9 comma 9 cannot be taken. 9 comma 10 also cannot be taken. So the numbers of pairs that we have is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 21 pairs are there. 21 such pairs are there. So we will just try to execute this program, and we will just verify whether this is producing the right input or not. So gcc hyphen o, just I'm just compiling the file. So let me go to create one more. So gcc hyphen o hello special. 1 minute. gcc hyphen o hello special prime. Okay, so where we are saving this file is inside VS Code. Okay, so cd dot vs code, and then it is gcc hyphen o hello, then special prime dot c. So there's no error so far, so hello. So let us give 10 and check, giving 46. Okay, so the actual mistake that we have done here is actually when we select one, we should not be, when we are I is 0, we are starting our j from 0. If your I is 5, we should not be again starting our j from 0. Our j also should start from 5. So for example, see, the reason why it is because already they have given you that x comma y and y comma x can be taken as the same pair. So when 0 comma 7 is chosen, you cannot again start from 7 comma 0. So when you're selecting 7, you just start your j also from 7. Don't select the numbers which is less than I. So you have to be selecting your j not from 0. You should be starting from I. Okay, fine. And one more trouble is also there. For example, if you see, for example, I'll tell you from okay, so from 0 to 10,000, how many numbers are there with the sum of digit equal to 1? Number 1 sum of digit 1, 10 sum of digit 1, 100 sum of digit 1, 1000 sum of digit 1, 10,000 is also sum of digit equal to 1. These are the 5 numbers. Suppose if the selected number is also 1 and I is also 1, j is also 1, what will happen? Sum of digit is equal to, totally it is equal to 5. So we will be multiplying 5 multiply. So that is what here, a multiplied by j. So 5 multiplied by 5 equal to 25 will be provided. No, there are not totally 25 pairs. So if 1 comma 10 comma 100 comma 1000 comma 10,000 are the numbers, then if you see here, 1 comma 1 is a number that can be chosen. 1 comma 10 can be chosen. 1 comma 100 can be chosen. 1 comma 1000 can be chosen. Then 1 comma 10,000 can be chosen. Fine. Now again, what you can, 10 comma 1 can be again not be chosen. 10 comma 1 cannot be chosen because already 1 comma 10 is chosen. So you can just start from 10 comma 10 can be chosen. Then 10 comma 100 can be chosen. 10 comma 1000, 10 comma 10,000. So initially when you are starting with 1, totally 5 pairs. Then when you are starting with 10, totally 4 pairs. When you are starting with 100, 3 pairs. When you are starting with 1000, 2 pairs. When you are starting with 10,000, 1 pair. So this is equal to, first of all, 5 pairs plus 4 pairs plus 3 pairs plus 2 pairs plus 1 pair. What is this? Sum of n natural number, first 5 natural number. So if the count of 1 is 5, then you have to find the sum of first 5 natural number. Already we are having a formula, n multiplied by n plus 1, the whole divided by 2 is a formula. So what you have to check here is, one more condition that you need to check is that before doing this calculation, you have to be checking whether I is equal to 1 and j is equal to 1, which means both are 1. So when both are 1, then what we have to be doing is, if both are 1, then we should be calculating sum of first n natural numbers. So which is, what is n here? N, not n, it is a of I. So what is a of I is taken as n because a of I is the number of 1. Number of 1 is a of I. So a of I is n multiplied by a of I plus 1. So n multiplied by n plus 1, the whole divided by 2. And this number will be stored. This number will be stored, it will be added to the existing pair value and it will be again stored back in the variable called as pair itself. Okay, so we have to give some. So these are the two mistakes that we have done. What is the two mistakes that we have done? One mistake is starting point of j. The other one is when our I is also 1 and j is also 1, then we had a small trouble that also we have already overcome. So now we will just go and compile and check whether this is okay or not. Yes. So these are all the numbers that I am just extra printing. Okay. So I'm just printing something extra. Yeah. Yeah, I'm just printing. Okay, fine. So let me remove this extra printing, and now if you check, you will be having exactly 21 such pairs when you give n is equal to 10. So this is what the expected output is all about. Okay, so it's a very long question. There are a lot of things to do first of all. Okay, so if you have any doubts, clarification, you have to again repeatedly see this video again and again, then only you can get to know about it. Okay, still there are few more concepts which is even complex than this is there. So you have to first of all understand this, and then we can just see digit dynamic programming approach also if possible in the later part of this series. Okay, so coming to this, what we have done initially is We have taken an array of size 451. We know what is the reason. Then we started finding the count of numbers, where the count of numbers for which the sum of digit is equal to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 450. We get the count and we stored in an array called A. And then using this loop, we are finding the pair such that the sum of I plus j, if it is a prime number, then we are calculating the number of pairs. Okay, so it's very simple when you look at the main function, but we have count digits, we have sum digits, we have prime number, and also we have seen a new version of prime number, the very efficient way of prime number calculating, checking whether a given number is a prime number or not. Okay, fine. So this is it for this session. Thank you.